Hi all, welcome back. So we're going to get started with the next speaker. My colleagues will get Heather Eicher-Miller queued up. So Professor Miller is at Purdue University in nutrition science, and she's focused on food insecurity, which affects 12% of US households and creates uncertainty regarding the availability of nutritionally adequate and safe foods. Today, she's going to talk to us about informing the improvement of US food security and dietary intake. So Heather, whenever you're ready, I think you can share your screen and we'll have your slides going.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, can everyone see my slides?
We can see them, but you're not in presentation. There you go. Perfect.
Okay.
And again, maybe I should just give one more reminder that people should enter their questions in the chat. And if we have time at the end, we'll present those to her. And if not, we can get them to her and get answers back to you later.
So thank you. Thank you so much for inviting me to share my research today. And I'm a new member of the new PDT that's been formed. So this is a really great opportunity for me today. So, in brief, food insecurity is when there's not enough money in a household for everyone to have access to enough food. And this is a situation that can range from not eating the same kinds of food that they normally would, not having the same choices, a lower variety of foods, all the way to skipping meals or not eating for a whole day or multiple days. So food insecurity is also something that we track in the US Census. And the most recent estimates we have are from national estimates are from 2019. The prevalence of household food insecurity in the US was at about 11%. In Indiana, we have a heightened food insecurity compared to this at 12.4%. And for households that experience the worst or most severe level of food security, where they're actually not eating enough, that estimate is around 4.5%. So our goal for overall food insecurity is to reduce the 11% estimated nationally down to 6%. So there's work to be done, and especially considering what we expect to happen because of the pandemic. Here you can see the projections for 2020 food insecurity are looking more like 16% in the US. And for Indiana, this will probably range between 17 and 23%. So there is going to be a heightened need for interventions to help us improve food security. The reason it's important, obviously there's links with health and diet, lower intake of key food groups, gaps in certain nutrient intakes that are important for growth and development and prevention of chronic diseases. And these dietary gaps translate to disparities in health outcomes. I just want to highlight iron deficiency anemia and low bone mineral content as things that we've discovered that link with in my lab for children. And then for adults, it tends to be a lot more greater prevalence of chronic disease, specifically diabetes, obesity, heart disease, metabolic syndrome, and even all-cause mortality have a greater burden for or linked, associated with food insecurity. And one of the issues here is that the United States really does, we make enough food so that everyone could have food security. So it's a problem that is solvable. And in my lab, we focus on trying to better understand food insecurity and how we can improve it, how we can learn about the subpopulations that experience this, what kinds of links they have, what are their specific dietary needs or disparities, nutrient needs, and then use that information to develop new interventions that would improve food security or evaluate existing interventions and if they're really meeting their goals or how they could be improved as well. So those could be programs or policies. And we also are interested in methods, of course, too, of how we do this. But with the rest of the time, I want to just feature two studies that we've done in each of these areas. So the first study is focused on assessment, and the second study I'll go into is focused on evaluation. So for our study focusing on assessment, this was a large scale study where we wanted to better understand the food insecurity of people who are using food pantries in poor rural counties in the Midwest. And we know that rural areas have a greater burden of food insecurity, and also the Midwest is an area as a whole that's been seeing an increased prevalence in food insecurity. Food pantries are a community venue that gathers together people who have a high need, potentially more of the very low food secure situation, and also their households that are reaching out for resources. So it could be a really great place to intervene in a bigger way and maybe improve the health of the food they're getting there and the services they could be connected to. So we wanted to find out more about this, the quality of the diet that people using food pantries have, what the quality of the food is in that environment, and also what food insecurity looks like for food pantry clients in these places. So this was a really large scale study where there were 6 Midwestern states that are shown in red in this map involved, and 24 food pantries from poor rural counties. We recruited about 600 food pantry clients, and we completed a series at each time point of 3 time points. We completed 3 dietary assessments, and then we combined those assessments to try to mitigate the measurement error that's entailed as part of those to get a good idea of what the usual intake of diet was like for these food pantry clients. And we captured that by, evaluated that by comparing it with the dietary guidelines for Americans, which tells us the best diet to promote health and prevent disease. And we used a metric called the Healthy Eating Index, which is optimal score is 100, meaning total conformance to the dietary guidelines. Our US average isn't great at like 659, so I think we're rated as like a D or a F as a nation in compliance with the dietary guidelines. But our sample mean for food pantry clients was 43. So this is significantly lower than that. And it makes sense as to why this food pantry clients may be experiencing so many health disparities. We also evaluated the quality, again, comparing it to the dietary guidelines for Americans, of the food that was leaving the food pantry in the bags of these clients. And we wrote all that down and then linked it to a nutrient database and found that that was a score of 58. So it's better than the client diets. And then we did the same thing for all of the food in the inventories of these 24 food pantries. And we found that the quality of that food was at 60. There were especially lower amounts of dairy, whole grains, and then higher amounts of sugars and sweetened beverages. So this study gave us a really good platform to develop an intervention from. Since we know the quality of the environment and the quality of the diets, we can help to bridge that gap and develop an intervention that could have education included as part of maybe improving the distribution of food at the pantries and offering more choice, and also improving the health of the foods there. So now just moving on to my second study. In this study, we wanted to evaluate an existing program to see how well it was doing at its goal of improving food security and diet in a low-income population. And this was the SNAP education program. It's the educational program that's affiliated with the food stamp program, and it's exists in every state. In Indiana, it happens to be administered through Purdue Extension. And so we carried out 2 longitudinal controlled studies to evaluate this program and find out if it's actually improving food security, dietary quality, and intake. So we recruited about 500 participants in the food security study and about 200 in the diet quality study. We evaluated the intervention compared to the control group over a 1-year period of time. And we didn't find any improvement in dietary quality as a result of the SNAP-Ed program, but we did find that vitamin D was improved, which is a nutrient of concern in the population. And our biggest finding was that household food security improved in the intervention group by 25% from baseline at the 1-year follow-up. And so it shows that, and this was an improvement we didn't see right after the intervention. So it shows that nutrition education is something that can improve, for one adult, can improve the food security of the entire household. And it's something that lasts. It's sustainable. You can keep using education into the future. And it was resistant to differences by urban or rural location or environmental resources or food assistance. So again, you can add this in and help inform improvements to the SNAP-Ed program, and overall thinking about SNAP-Ed as a piece of the strategy to improve food security. So that's it for me, and I'll take any questions.
Great, thank you so much, Heather. We do have time for a couple of questions if there are any in the chat, or if anyone would like to speak up. Maybe I'll ask a quick one. If I try to draw a correlation, Heather, to the 4 generations that Dr. Hudson talked to us about this morning, what would be the take action? If you could give a bullet point or 2 to all of us on this call, what would be the take action that you would advise for us, for food insecurity and how we might do something impactful in that area?
I think getting involved in local efforts to improve the health of food at food pantries. A lot of food pantries are taking a closer look at this issue and really trying to think about the needs of the clients they serve, and what their lifestyles are, when they're able to visit their pantries, reevaluating the hours that they're open and the way that they serve clients. I think these are great efforts to try to be more in tune with meeting those needs and what kind of foods their clients need. And also, just asking food pantries what kinds of foods they want, or money is always probably the most flexible resource to contribute there. But those are ways I think all of us can help.
I have a quick question. This is Joel Evie from IU Bloomington. I was just wondering what you thought about the large volume of waste that occurs, at restaurants, extra food that's prepared, or at grocery stores. How does that make it into this kind of pipeline where it actually helps folks? Or, can you speak to that? Because I know there's so much food that's thrown away that could be given to folks who are in need, but just doesn't make it there.
I think that I'm aware of some at least one organization in Indianapolis that's kind of escaping me right now that really tries to rescue food like that. One of the issues I'm kind of concerned about with that is the safety of it. I don't think, we really want to be in the business of like promoting foods that are not as good. But at the same time, you know, eliminating waste while helping people is definitely a good goal. So I think those efforts could be really great. It just kind of maybe depends on some of the ways that the food is monitored for safety and making sure that it's really okay to be redistributed. And how quickly too, I guess.
Great, thanks. You'll see there's some responses on those kinds of services, both in the Indianapolis area and here in Northern Indiana in the chat. So please make sure that you're looking at that as people are offering up their 2 cents and helping out. Heather, thank you again for speaking and for being a member of our PDT. And we're excited about what that PDT can do for the state of Indiana. And thank you for your participation.
Thank you.